Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So, we'll do our officials here. So Confidential Computing Consortium, Outreach Committee, we're focused, open source community focused on the protection of data in use. Everyone's welcome. So thank you all for being here today. Antitrust policy, very important when collaborating amongst folks who may compete with each other out in the marketplace, but are cooperating here as part of the CCC. So please be familiar with the Linux Foundation antitrust policy. All right. The agenda for today, we're going to do the minutes and check in with any new attendees that we've got. Some quick updates and announcements. Dan is going to review the website stats for the last period. We'll talk a little bit about CC Summit. That may be the one that's curtailed because we may not have a lot of firsthand knowledge, but I'm interested if anybody has heard reports. We've got the AI Infrastructure Summit plan. We've got to make some decisions about the booth and the programming that we're going to do, what to do with this credit that we've got with the Hilton Canopy in San Francisco, the thing that everyone's waiting for, the mascot name. As Rianne pointed out the other day, it's like if you want to drive really high member participation, have a mascot naming contest. And then check in with any other business. All right. So here are of course, our folks from all the voting reps. Do we have a quorum today, Rian?
No, we've got yourself and Laura as voting reps. So
Okay.
no quorum.
All right. Did Laura make it? Oh, yeah. All right. Hi, Laura. Okay. Our staff, I'm of course acting, I'm vice chair, acting on behalf of Rachel, who is out on a temporary assignment this summer. Although I did get a chance to see her and meet her in person at the CC Summit. Say welcome to our new members. Got any first timers here today? Don't think so. I think everyone has been to this rodeo at least once. Okay. Approval of the minutes. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes. Go ahead and call those approved. Any objections? All right, hearing no objections, minutes are approved. I feel so formal. Okay, just a couple reminders. The job board. If you're hiring in the confidential computing space, if you're looking in the confidential computing space, please check out the CCC job board. We have got the events coming up. The mini summit is tomorrow. So that's taken place in Denver. We think we've pushed out some social media posts around that, hoping to see good turnout for our topic in Denver. We've got the AI Infrastructure Summit coming up September 9th through 11th in Santa Clara. And then there was a proposal that came forward. It was put forth by folks from Hushmash, and they brought this up during RSA, the RSA conference, and then brought it up again in a conversation, email conversation earlier this week of, do we want to try and coordinate and cluster confidential computing booths together at RSA 2026? So we kind of create a confidential computing neighborhood, because I guess RSA is sending out renewal notices for people who were exhibitors last year. Just wanted to check among the folks here whether or not that was something that they wanted to put some effort into.
So Mike, NVIDIA doesn't ever have a booth at RSA, so I don't know if
Okay.
they're going to start, but I don't think so.
Okay. I and the other from Microsoft, I suspect Microsoft, when they place their booth at RSA, they do it based on their level of sponsorship and placement within the hall and things like that. So I don't know if Microsoft and the people who place the booth for Microsoft at RSA, I suspect are not the same people on this call because it's that's a big show for everybody. I think this will mostly go to, the question is probably largely directed toward the CCC itself and um, some of our less gigantic members. So I don't know if, and I hope I'm saying Shania, Abby, does this sound like something interesting that you guys might be interested in pursuing?
Unfortunately, we have a few conferences coming up this week in general, but I don't have any specific thoughts on it. I have noticed in the past with more clusters that it can be a little busy, but it does gather quite a bit of excitement. So I don't really have a strong opinion.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll report back to Manu that we have large enthusiasm was not forthcoming, is what I will report back to him, and that he should try and place the Hushmesh booth as best he can, based on their own business needs, is I think what I will report back. Okay, the newsletter content. Thanks to everybody who submitted newsletter content. Sorry about sending out the wrong link earlier. I hopefully corrected that on Slack. And then the blog submission, if you guys have got a hot topic, want to put out a blog, we should go ahead and get that done. Use the link below. All right, quickie updates. We talked last week about, or last time about trying to consolidate all the high use links and resources into one place. Rian, I think, was going to be working that on the on his side.
Okay, so
right.
what I've done is I looked at the website and the links that we do have there. So we basically have two headings. So what the thought was, we need a central place where we can put headings. What I want to avoid is that we create another document that's linked to the links that's already linked in the website. So my thought is, let's keep it all in one place, and we we rather update the resources and get involved headings for the website by adding more links to things that members are missing. So if there's any links that you think, I'm always looking for this thing and it's not on the website, and I often use this as part of my CCC journey, I would suggest to reach out to me or put it on the mailing list and say, I would like a link on the get involved heading that is going to a specific place, or to submitting a form for the newsletter, or submitting a blog submission, or if there's any links like that that people feel is important, we can always add it in there. So not to duplicate, and also make maintenance easier.
Yeah, the ones that come to my mind immediately are, so this one has the blog, which is probably to read the blog. Then we should also have a note to submit content for either the blog or for social. We should have the links to the GitHub where the artwork and imagery reside. So like the logos, the mascot, member badge. We should have a link out to that. Yeah, so the blog, the newsletter, the job board we've got already. Okay. Those are the ones that I think we should make sure we get linked on here. Any other suggestions of resources that we'd want folks to see? All right. Well, let's see if we can get those ones. Newsletter content, social content, artwork.
Yes, we already got the newsletter content and social content, but the submission forms, I think, would be a good thing. Submit your blog here or submit your newsletter article here. Is that what you're referring to?
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay. I can work with that and we can set that up, and also a link to the artwork repo. I also like that because people often look for that and I have to point them to it.
Yeah, can
Okay.
I just ask real quick, right now, where are the newsletter and blog submission forms? Like, how do folks know about them? Is it just through this? And the reason I'm asking is I would say 85% of what we get there is actually spam. We get like everyday submissions and they're always spam. Well, not always, but the vast majority of them are spam. Um, so that's the only reason I'm a little hesitant to put that somewhere even more public. Um, like I don't know where the spam's coming from, but we
That
get
is,
constant spam submissions on both those forms.
that's interesting. Maybe do we need to refresh the URLs for that? And, I'm sure the spam bots will find it again. But I don't know. I don't know how the world of spam works. Is that do we just have to screen that out with humans, or do you think moving the URLs for those forms would calm that down?
Yeah, I don't know, because I use these forums on multiple other projects, and this is the only one that we get spam on. So I'm not sure where it's originating from, and it's really silly
Bulgaria.
stuff. Like it's all gibberish um, from fake email addresses. So we just delete them. But yeah, if there's a way to prevent that or suggestions, then Angela and I would appreciate it because right now we're just manually deleting them. But that's the only reason that I mentioned that.
Okay. What's the magnitude of the spam submissions?
We get dozens a month.
Oof. Okay. Let's try refreshing the URLs for that. And at next, we'll replicate the form on a different
Okay.
URL and see if we can calm that down.
I don't know how easy that is to do, Rion. Have you migrated one of these forms before?
I have not, but it sounds like something we can do.
Yeah, and if we can find out a way to not have a redirect on the old URL, or something like that, because just what we need to do is start redirecting the spam bots to the new URL. So
No,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
we
yeah. I
have
see what you're
to.
saying. Yes, yes, exactly.
okay,
Yeah, I think we should make a fresh form, and then with total new URL, and then we link that to the links at the top of the web page and see if it's different once we've done that.
all right. Yeah, let's see if we can try and get past this, because that would be super annoying.
Perfect. No, I appreciate it. I'm all for having it more public. And on other projects we have it on the website, but we don't get this problem. So I don't know where this originated from. So
Yeah.
that might be a simple fix. And if we're not getting it, then I'm all for, putting it up on the website.
Okay. All right, and so a couple things on Slack. For those who are using the Slack channels, thank you very much. we talked a little bit about how we want to be a little more standardized and a little more disciplined about how we're using the main channels on Slack. So the way that we want to start using is that, you know, if you go to the confidentialcomputing.slack.com and sign up, there's one of the channels is, you know, hashtag outreach. And that is going to be a messaging platform for all members. So everyone who's subscribed to the Slack channel is going to be able to get messages that are posted there. So you treat it like you treat, you know, email, where, you know, you want to be courteous and disciplined about how much you're using it and what you're using it for. But when we need to get word out to everybody, and you know, I want to encourage the members to use it for things like, hey, if there's big news that might be useful to other members, you heard something, you know, exciting, you know, to pick a, you know, to pick an instance here, you know, Milika, it said, hey, we've got new confidential computing instances at Azure, you know, for people to check out, you know, posting, you know, a quick announcement with a link to that to all members would probably be helpful. Then there's the outreach management channel. This is the one that the committee officers and program managers will be using. So amongst us, we'll be using that one primarily to talk with each other and work out business that, you know, we want to, you know, we don't need to bother the whole membership with. And then if you need to go specifically to a person or a couple of people, go ahead and use the direct messages. Or if you're working a project for the committee and you just need an ad hoc group, one of the things that we want to try and avoid is direct message or direct message groups becoming like standing message platforms. They basically be turned into channels. And that was one of the things that the management team kind of found ourselves in, where we had like 6 different permutations of direct message channels going. And so this is how we missed things like when Dan had updated the artwork for the mascot, and I didn't know about it because I either wasn't paying attention on that channel or I wasn't on that particular channel. This way, using these 3 Slack media will probably be the place to keep everything going. And real quick, I want to pick up my pace here. IDC research. So everyone who chipped in use cases and value props, we came up with about 22 or 23 of them that we were going to go ahead and test. I rolled those all up and submitted them to IDC. They're going to program them into the survey instrument that they're then going to send out to the target audience. I'm expecting to get a schedule update from IDC later this week. The whole thing is running about 3 weeks behind the original schedule. So we'll likely see results from this in late August, early September is where I'm suspecting we'll get our readout. All right, up next, website stats. Dan.
Yeah, so these are the May stats. Continuing very similar to what we've been doing all year, roughly doubling our traffic compared to last year at the same period, which is great to see. Visitors up 93%. You can see, you know, obviously the homepage is the top visited place, but people are also interested in the members, the about, the webinars, and the projects. This is all very consistent for the last few months. And as is the top traffic sources, those referrals primarily come from Google blog posts, which is, you know, great to see that Google is mentioning CCC so often, and that drives so much traffic. I do want to mention, I think that you all covered this last month. I know that Angela had a slide about it, the Bulgaria traffic that is continuing. But it continues to be unattributable and unengaged compared to the other geographies. Out of those 735 visitors, only about 20 of them could we see where they came from, and they actually were on the site for more than a few seconds. So I don't have a good answer other than some kind of bot, but I don't understand what they're trying to get out of that. It's not nearly enough for any sort of DDoS attack. Um, so I unfortunately don't have a good reason why there's these bots hitting from Bulgaria, but that's the only assumption that we can have.
All right. Should we, I'm wondering if we want to, if we infer anything from, I'm look, for example, direct. Direct is somebody typed in confidentialcomputing.io, which is really high. I mean, that seems like a really high percentage versus those that, you know, when I think of my own web behavior, I am often coming off of a link that I'm in some other piece of content. Should I read anything into basically a 50-50 split between direct and referral? As in,
Good question, but yeah, the data doesn't tell us any more than that. You know, and I wouldn't think that it's some sort of tracking blocker because that usually will come up as unassigned, which is why that's, you know, fairly high, folks using that sort of technology on their browser. So yeah,
well,
I can't say more than that.
I guess let me rephrase because I don't think I'm quite being clear. I'm wondering if we are underperforming because we are not sufficiently linked in other content.
Hmm.
That you know, I would say if we're doing great with our links placed in other content, you know, that say this would be 70% referral, you know, versus 50%.
Right. I see what you're saying. You know, we always want more links out there, so, you know, I don't disagree with you that, you know, there's opportunity probably for more referral traffic. I know that we're doing SEO optimization, so we're trying to get search up as well. And we're continuing our regular social, although, you know, as you can see, that's fairly low traffic source for us. Um, so yeah, I mean, anything that the community can do about posting more links is always great.
Yeah, I think if there's BKMs of, I know at one point we talked about having the member badge being more than just a graphic treatment, but also
Yep,
being
but it's
a hot
linkable.
link, the
Mhm.
member badge. You know, if we had like a standard sign off on things like, so in, you know, Intel and you know, Nvidia and Microsoft and Mainsail are all posting, hey, you know, here's an article we wrote about confidential computing. At the bottom of it, you know, our company is a member of the Confidential Computing Consortium, you know, with link built into it, might also be another way to drive link traffic. Anyway,
Agreed.
for folks to consider, look at seeing, you know, always good to see the numbers coming up. Okay, CC Summit. Whoops. Wrong slide. Hang on. Okay. So everybody who came out to help staff the CCC table, you know, thank you. You guys are rock stars. Appreciate everyone chipping in, standing a post, doing a little bit for the organization. Wanted to see if anyone had feedback on the event. Specifically, I am leading to the question of, you know, we spend a non-trivial amount of our budget on this sponsorship. And given the results that we saw and the audience that we met at the event, would we do it again next year? All right. I throw the floor open to all.
I apologize. I can add very little value except third-party feedback, which a huge number of NVIDIANs did attend. And it was very similar to last year's feedback, which was there's a lot of vendor participation, not as much customer participation, which is, of course, always our goal when we attend these events, is to actually talk to customers. But my entire team, there's like 10 plus that attended, they did find value in the ability to talk to partner companies, very much so. But that was their feedback. And every attendee did find value in one way or the other. They're putting together like a larger report, which I'm happy to share, minus any proprietary information, of course, with the group here. I don't know if that
All
was
right.
helpful or not, Mike. Sorry.
No, that is okay. Secondhand info is good. Jamie, I'm gonna call you out because I was hanging out with one of your colleagues there at the booth. What was the experience on your guys' side, or did you hear?
Yeah, I mean, I think two-sided, right? Some great sort of high-level conversations with some great people. And always interesting to be in the room to have those conversations, right? And pull the different threads into to weave something new. But also low sort of like low attendance feel about it. And so is this the place where we convene, right, for those conversations, or is there another place?
Well, before I weigh in with my own opinion on that question, anyone else have feedback or hear from their colleagues on what their experience was? Okay, so my feedback was very much similar to what Laura heard from her colleagues, that it was a lot of people from the confidential computing ecosystem, the cloud providers, the hardware providers, the ISVs and the service providers. I didn't talk to a single bank, healthcare organization, manufacturer, service, service provider, any of those things that wasn't selling confidential computing goods and services. The sole exception to that was, this kid from Stanford, who had to be like 19. His title on his badge was CEO. And so, yeah, who knows? He might be worth $1 billion. But it was. I thought what it was like was a North American OC3. It's the confidential computing ecosystem talking to itself, was my takeaway. It was interesting, great to hear what everybody's doing. Great to make connections to other folks in the ecosystem. But this thing is supposedly billed as the customer counterpart, the end user counterpart to OC3, where OC3 is supposed to be the ecosystem, and then confidential computing is supposed to be the end users. I would say mission not accomplished in that regard. I'll echo Jamie's feedback on it. Felt a little bit underperforming for attendance. It didn't feel full. The rooms, even the most attended keynote or session that I saw, the room was set for maybe 400, 500 people, and it was maybe 40% full. At its best performing, at its worst, you've got, 15 people in a room set for 400, in a sub-zero room set for 400. That, if you were asking me, should CCC put its money down on sponsorship again, I would be very reluctant. All right. If anybody, we don't have to make a decision on this now. And I am interested if other people ask around if they had, better experiences. I heard some people coming back saying, they're going, it was great, but I wonder if it was their objective was to do like what Laura was talking about of meeting partner companies rather than end users.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is Abby. I was just going to comment. We're seeing that in other industries too. I do a lot of business in the defense sector and the conferences, like the customers aren't coming to these anymore. There's no travel budgets. It's a lot of the community and vendors, which is great to talk to other vendors in industry, but when it comes to the customers, they're just not traveling to these things anymore. So
Do you think that do you think they're just I know travel budgets are tight. Do you think that they're just looking for online content, or is it like, look, I don't need to go to a conference. I can just go to a virtual conference or watch a video or something like that and get what I need?
well, I think the customers are getting inundated with that stuff, right? And this is very specific to federal government, but I think the mentality that we're seeing is more industry needs to come to me. Come
Yeah,
to me, get the meetings, get in front of me at my kind of home base.
got it. Okay. All right. Well, as folks hear stuff and get feedback, I'm really interested. Even if you just want to send it to me directly, hit me on the Slack channel, send me an email. I am very interested, because we are going to have to make a decision, eventually, about whether we're going to re-up for this next year, and just member experiences with it is going to be critical. Okay, AI Infrastructure Summit, the next big event, September 9th through 11th, Santa Clara Convention Center, heart of Silicon Valley. We had several things that we needed to program. We needed to provide a panelist for a panel for AI in regulated industries. So our colleague Manu from Hushmesh has stepped up to take that one on. The pre-event online seminar, this one is not yet locked down, and we need to get it locked down pretty soon. It's supposed to be, a small group, high engagement seminar. No one has stepped forward with an idea on this one. I think in the absence of any other ideas, I would basically do the fundamentals of confidential computing session for a small group of influential people. It's like, I'm interested in this. I'm too busy to go do a bunch of research on my own. I'm embarrassed that I, don't know about this and would like to just get, a direct download from someone. And maybe have somebody like Mike Purcell do a guided tour of the fundamentals of confidential computing. Any other ideas? Anybody else want to raise their hand and take that one on?
Hi,
So
Is that
Go
for
ahead,
number
Laura.
5?
yeah, hi, this is Julia from Super. So I am literally all about online, less offline things. But it's always, for me, it's also always about not the technology, but what the business outcome we can deliver. Because to me, too little people too few people still know about confidential computing. And if they come, if they listen online, anything, they need to see the value that it brings to them, not how it brings, but what specifically. So my key question is here: for 10 people online seminar, what would be the channels of communication? And maybe we still could focus on what it could bring and how it could be channeled further to the more people possible. That's the key question to me always on any online events, actually, as well.
Yeah, and this one, these things are the way these work, Julia, is the organizers, once you program one of these seminars, they send out invitations to the people who are signed up at AI Infrastructure Summit, and these particular ones are billed specifically as small group. These are not, intended to be 300 people or highly scalable things. Are intended to be very curated, highly engaged, seminars. It's not like watching TV. It's intended to be more like, hey, let's get together and have a chat about this. But I agree that value, to bring, say, get CIOs or CISOs in there and just talk about trusted execution environments and attestation without talking about value and use cases is probably not helpful. So I think we would, if we do this, we would have, some basic education about the technology and then a whole lot of examples of how companies are using it to create business value.
Hey, Mike, this is Abby with Mainsail again. I'd like to throw our hat in the ring for this. We're doing something very specific with confidential computing and AI capabilities at the edge using confidential computing. And we can definitely talk about the basics of trusted execution environments, trusted workload, integrity, and things like that. I need to confirm with our CTO and our chief engineer if that's a possibility, but I think Mainsail could definitely hit on that.
Okay, that'd be great. I'm gonna try and take a note here, but I have, in the full screen note, I don't have the ability to take a note. Let me exit full screen for a second.
And Mike, these events, do they allow to distribute somehow the already created material? For example, Super has participated in AI Engineer World's Fair conference. We've got a great increased material that might be applicable for anyone attending these kind of events. Is there a reason to not create anything else, but just to share something worth watching, for example, or it's always about something creating new?
I don't think I understand the question. Try me again.
We have already developed a great content. It's already available. How to leverage this material, not just using our or CCC social media, but really tap into these kind of events, just extending the content through those audiences, if we as a CCC support those events.
My understanding, just to jump in real quick on that, Yulia, I think I do appreciate your eye for scale, and I think that's really valuable. But the way that I think AI Summit is framing this up is a huge value in small group convening and the discussion that's possible there, and sort of the curated feel of it. And that's how they're going to attract decision makers to the room. And so having canned content might not be the path for these particular events. Happy to be wrong on that, Mike.
Yeah, and I think I think maybe if things on like the basics. Now, Mainsail may have their own. I want to give whoever steps up to manage the event or manage the session a lot of latitude to present the way they want to. But if you're hunting for, hey, we just need the basics of teas and the basics of attestation, I think if anybody has good content for that and they wanted to chip it in, that would be more than welcome. I do want to emphasize to all who are taking advantage of these things that these are CCC sponsorships first. And so you want to make sure that your approach is we're advocating for the technology as the primary goal. It's like, this technology is amazing, whether, no matter who is providing the solutions, the building on confidential computing is the main message. Oh, we, as an example of how we are using confidential computing to achieve, these great outcomes, then you would want to do that. So think 80-20 rule, that you want to be, when you're speaking in one of these sessions, that you want to be the representative of the whole community first, and the representative of your specific company or technology is extra credit on top of that. Okay, thank you so much for stepping up on that. Invari has volunteered to manage the in-person one. So I think I'm going to go ahead and we put out the invitation to that a couple weeks ago. No one else has raised their hand, so I think we're going to call that one settled. The one thing that we need to decide, part of our sponsorship includes a booth. The exhibit space on this thing is pretty big. It's a pretty big location, and we're sort of tucked in the back, so I think the way that they've got this arranged is they've got, a main stage here, they've got food, over here on the right, and then the main hall, people would probably tend to enter and then gravitate, from the main entrances over here toward the right. We are the opposite direction. So in addition to booth placement, and that it's 16 hours of exhibitor time, I am concerned that we will have an empty booth most of the time, because it just is going to take trying to find, I think, volunteers to staff 16 hours of booth is going to be really hard. I am inclined to decline the booth. Now, does somebody want to talk me out of this?
You're by the concession? People getting coffee? You're pretty close there.
It's true. That's the upside.
I don't know if that's enough.
Yeah, 16 hours of volunteer time. We're going to be looking to, I mean, Confidential Computing Summit was like 6 hours or 4 hours, and we struggled to put together a roster for that.
AI is big though right now, so they may have better attendance. Like, this is what everybody's talking about.
Well, it's not even attendance isn't our problem. It's staffing that is our problem.
So staffing, being in the booth, having a spot to land is a big piece of why Invari is planning to go. So that's my perspective.
So you're on team keep it.
I'm your Huckleberry. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Okay. Given that the feedback is not unanimous, I'm going to keep it for now, which means that we are going to have to we're going to have to go ahead and get figured out. Well, first of all, and Jamie, that was you, right? That just spoke up on that?
Correct.
Okay. Are you going?
Well, it looks like I am now. Yes, sir. No, yeah. So there will be at least 2 Inveri people there, because we'll be running the in-person event. And like the booth is a piece of why that makes sense for us, right?
Okay.
So if you're gonna jettison that piece, let me know.
Okay. Because one of the joys of being a volunteering for staff time with a CCC booth is somebody needs to be the recipient of the banner and the swag, and which is usually either a roll-up sign, a tablecloth, and some stickers. So there's not a lot to it, but somebody needs to be the person that is going to go set up our area and make sure that it looks nice and is presentable when it opens, whether it's staffed or not. That's somebody gets to do that. Would you be willing to step up and be that person?
I'm going to say 98% yes. I will.
All right.
I will. It sounds like we need a little think about this, but yeah, like
Okay.
this is on my in our plans, right? But I think I don't have a lot of detail, so let's just like circle back.
Okay.
Just flagging also that I think depending on team availability, I think TikTok would be also interested in helping manning the booth in the name
Yeah.
of confidential computing. But again,
That's
another 70% chance with our
okay.
staff.
Sorry about the. Okay, just a note for myself there. Okay, other things new on this. The organizers have put forward a podcast opportunity. There is a tech media company called Tech Arena, run by my former boss. That they apparently got the contract to podcast live from AI Infrastructure Summit. And I don't know if their roster is already full, but the organizers have sent out a note saying, hey, anybody who wants to sign up to do a podcast on Tech Arena, we've got a sign up sheet here. I am wondering if anybody felt like stepping up and being the interviewee to represent the confidential computing consortium and advocate for the technology, and then again using the 80-20 rule, after you've fulfilled your obligation of advocating for the technology, holding up your company as an example of how we're applying confidential computing. Anyone interested?
Mike, is this person needs to be on the event to be the part of podcast, or it's remotely?
They're recording live at the event. They're setting up a recording studio there.
Got you.
Jamie or Guzo, do you think either of you guys would want to, since it sounds like you're either going to be there or in the neighborhood, anyone
Yeah, I mean,
interested?
our CEO is pretty great at that. So at the risk of hogging, but answer yes. We're always looking for podcast opportunities and he's great at doing that move, right? Of here's confidential computing and then making it not salesy, right? So yes, unless somebody else wants it, because I don't want to take all the resources from this event.
Okay. All right. Okay. Moving on. Last couple minutes.
Sorry, Mike, just on that then, Jamie, with you going to go fill out the podcast opportunity form?
Sorry, say that again, Rian.
No, asking Jamie, are you going to follow the link and fill in the I am here to do a podcast thing?
It sounds like they need to check. Jamie, go ahead and hit me on Slack and I will get you the info. Hit me on Slack, send me an email. and then go ahead and do your follow-up on your side, and I'll make sure we get you the links and everything to get you cruising on both of these activities if you guys want to step up.
Love it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Canopy credit. This is the Hilton Canopy. We are out of time on this one. They basically said you need to book a date and an event by the end of the week, or we're keeping your money. Well, they're keeping our money no matter what. Yeah, so at least if we don't book a date and event, they are going to they're going to keep the money that we spent here, and we will get nothing for it unless we are willing to step up and organize an event. We're going to lose this deposit. Now, I put this to the governing board and the TAC to see if they're going to go ahead and if they want to do a face-to-face meeting there. That is going to be the most well-fed, free drink, TAC meeting that they've ever had. But if anyone has ideas for what we could possibly do and would be willing to help step up and manage an event at this location in San Francisco, would love, it's going to take, if we do anything other than just do a live meeting of the TAC or the governing board, it's going to take work. And so members are going to have to step up and help, contribute to programming this.
So Mike, I understand that this is a kind of date selection situation, and of course with the date comes the programming on top of it. But I think ultimately the most important decision is just to select a date. If any other person is willing to do that, I can try to see if there will be one or two people of my team that can think through an activity that is confidential computing centered. Perhaps like a meetup or something like that on the day off, just so that the money doesn't go to waste.
Yeah, and to your point, Matthias, I know we had an event last year. It was a web-based event, and it was a federated learning, just like a webinar type of thing. But we had so much participation from banks, hospitals, partners like Accenture, et cetera. We had amazing attendance. We had literally dozens, if not 100 countries represented. And so we could probably put something together with you guys at TikTok, kind of like a learning session, and then just host it online, because we're probably already going to be doing that in September anyway. So if that's something you think would work, Mike or Matthias.
Well, this one, yeah, this one would be live.
Yeah, no, it'd be a live, and like what I'm saying is, because a lot of us are in the Valley, it could be a live plus webinar. Does that make sense? Like it could be a twofer. And so if customers wanted to come, it could be an option for them to attend. And then maybe we can actually talk. Yeah, hybrid. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be an option for us to actually get to talk to customers too. Just a thought, because we had a lot of customers actually come to the NVIDIA offices, like World Bank Canada. Like there were a couple of customers that actually came in to the office. I mean, it was supposed to be 100% online, but they wanted to actually meet with NVIDIA staff anyway. So I mean, that's a thought.
Okay.
And I'm happy to take the onus off of your shoulders on that, Mike.
Okay.
But of course, work with you to make sure it's successful.
Okay. Let me send you guys email, or hit you guys both on the Slack channel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let me send you a follow-up message today, and with kind of how we would do follow-up and next steps. Otherwise, I'm going to default back to the governing board and TAC. Okay, let's we got just like a couple minutes left. Everyone's favorite topic, mascots, right? Okay, voting for the name is open. So if you haven't voted, go ahead and do so at the URL there. Let me post that in the chat here, so it's there for everybody. Copy back to the chat. Where's the chat? Where's the chat? Where's the chat? There it is. Okay. So where do things stand? As of 5 p.m. yesterday, the names getting the most votes among top threes: Coco, CC, and Tico. Coco might be problematic because of the Coconut Project and Confidential Containers Project, but we'll work through that. Most #1 votes, Coco leading the pack. You CC right behind, and then several following. With 2 #1 votes each. Highest average ranking, Coco. Coco with very strong #1 and #2 showings, edging out the other name possibilities. So if you are inclined to make your vote heard, go ahead and jump in and place your vote. Okay, any other business?
Just one point from our side. I'm really happy to hear that NVIDIA and TikTok is keen to host something on the Canopy event, because I don't want to see that go to waste. But important, we must book a date by Monday. If we don't book by Monday, we lose it. So if you just can work through a date by Monday, let them know.
Yeah, I'm already scheduling a meeting with my team today to try and get everybody on this.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. And
All
also
right.
just a very fast announcement. TikTok will be sponsoring the We Are Developers Conference, and our focus there will be, mostly the open source technology that we have, including other privacy and efforts. So if you're interested in coming and saying hello, and you'll be in Germany, in Berlin from July 9th to July 11th, please make sure to send me a note, and it would be great to have you at the meetup.
All right. Sounds great. Okay, anything else?
Matthias, do you have a link for the minutes that I can stick in? You can just drop it to me in Slack and I'll stick it in the minutes so people can see.
I'll drop it on Slack. Thank you, Rian.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, this is it for this round. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
All right.